Hello, everyone, and a very good afternoon, I bid to all, and welcome to PMCC's 10th Brain Huddle webinar of the year. I'm Dini, and I will be your host for today. So on behalf of PMCC, we would like to thank each and every one of you for your support, and we hope that you enjoy, and most importantly, learn from today's sharing session. So for those who are new or just curious about PMCC, we provide project management and consulting services for a wide range of sectors, both globally and locally, but mainly in construction and railway systems. And if you were wondering what PMCC stands for, it's project management, coaching, and consulting. As for these brain huddles, it's one of our initiatives to provide a platform for experts of respective fields to share about topics that are relevant to the current situation in the market, allowing you to relate the knowledge gained from our brain huddle sessions with real-life work situations. So we conduct these brain huddle sessions quite frequently. So if you don't want to miss out, be sure to follow us on our social media, subscribe to our newsletters, or check out our website at www.pmcc-corporation.com. All right, so let's introduce our speaker for today. He's our group CEO and has been in the workforce for at least 30 years, with most of those years in project management. He values continuous learning and encourages others to do so as well. Introducing Peter Wyss, who will be presenting the topic for today, which is the future of project management. Say hi, Peter.
Hello, hello.
All right, so before we begin, let me guide you through some house rules during this session. So number one, you are welcome to turn on your camera as you please. Number two, please keep yourself on mute unless you want to ask questions to avoid interrupting the speaker. And lastly, questions are most welcome at the end of the session. When the speaker opens the floor for questions, unmute your mic and ask away. Or if you're shy, leave your questions in the chat box and we'll answer it promptly. Okay, without further ado, please welcome Peter. The floor is yours, Peter.
Cool. Okay. So let me start this whole thing. So thank you, Dini, very much. And thank you all for attending this 2020 year and the year end with the Brain Huddle about the future of project management. So what you will hear and see is how our future could take shape and how we can prepare ourselves to be ready, respectively play an important role in our world transitions we are going through. Maybe, what you hear today, it's a bit different, but on the other hand, projects have been shaping our world for the past 1,000 years. And the way we know the world today, it's, I would say, literally built by projects, isn't it? Our ideas outlined in a plan and delivered by people. That is the traditional form of how we create results. And now, what's different? So that's coming here in this. No, good. In this presentation today about the future of project management. So I give you a quick introduction on the current world. Why the future of project management? Why is it? I think we all agree the world is changing faster than ever before. And the question is, how do you take that? Then many of today's jobs will be different in 2030 and beyond. So automation will take over, and it's not that I'm saying we will be jobless, but I believe we will do different jobs in future than what we do today. The future of work will be automated. I think that's obvious, and projectized. What does it mean? Is actually a lot of today's operational business will be done in projects in the future, and less standard operations, daily operation, day in, day out, the same, will be gone because that's basically automated. So the rest will be done in projects. And agile and hybrid models will take over. It happens already. All software projects, whatever you see from Facebook, all the websites, all these kind of social media platforms, the apps, everything is done in agile software development principles. That's already there. Now agile and especially the hybrid models taking over the construction projects. That's where I'm coming from. So actually it is marching in tremendously quick, and we need to change our mindset towards more agile and hybrid models in project management. You will see later what's coming. So what is the future of project management? It is obviously the demand for agile and hybrid project management talents. It takes people to get the job done, isn't it? So people need to learn this kind of agile models, and then management towards specialized leadership. Why I'm saying that, especially in agile, they say we need we need leadership, but it's more leadership for you know, not the leadership we had in the past, controlling and hammering people. It is more the servant leadership or the collaborative leadership style, which is coming for the future. And what we can see today, systems getting more and more complex, isn't it? When even just look at the money transactions, previously we went to the bank, we speak to someone to do a money transaction, it's done. Nowadays, you have hundreds of platforms, you can do money transactions, which coin you want to transact. So the future will become much more complex, and all has to be basically considered for that change. And then automation, of course, we have seen it already, especially in the manufacturing area. Automation happened, like Tesla factory, go and have a look. Most of the jobs are done by robots already. So it will actually move in and march into the construction business as well. So now that actually calls for a new leader, isn't it? Now here I'm showing you Marshall Goldsmith. I like this guy, not just because he is old, but basically over his 40 years of experience he brings to the table about leadership. He also wrote that fantastic book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So also it's a matter of a little hint. Whatever we learned maybe 20, 30 years ago, it's maybe not applicable or valid anymore today, or it needs a drastic upgrade. So let's hear what he says, and maybe you take a nudge from him. I hope you can hear it.
I define a great leader as a person who effectively helps others achieve their goals, not a great achiever who's good at achieving his goals or her goals. So we've developed a proven model for developing yourself as a leader, coaching others, and building teams. The first step of the model is you learn to ask for input. Ask, how can I do better? Then the next thing is listen to what people have to say in a non-judgmental way. Think about it. Fight the urge to instantly respond. Thank people for their input. Don't punish the messenger. Acknowledging their contribution, not promising to do everything. Then the next thing is involve everyone around you in your own personal improvement. Then, of course, change. Does anyone really change? Well, I've spent 40 years answering the question. Yes, I can help people change. And the key to all of the success of what I teach is follow up. If you ask for input, talk to people, follow up on a regular basis, and measure getting better, you improve. And the great management thinker Peter Drucker said, we spend a lot of time helping leaders learn what to do, and we don't spend enough time helping leaders learn what to stop. And if they learn what to stop, they get better at what to do. For example, I teach people don't add too much value. Quit doing that. What does that mean? I come to you with an idea. Rather than saying great idea, you say that's a great idea, but. Well, what happens is the quality of the idea may or may not go up 5%, but my commitment just went down 50%. Quit saying but. Quit proving you're smart all the time. Learning not to do that really helps you empower people. Historically, in the area of employee involvement, there's been a whole focus on what the company can do to engage you. not what you can do to engage yourself. Companies have asked something called passive questions. When you ask a passive question, you get an answer that blames the environment. Do you have clear goals? No, they're confused. Do you have meaning at work? No, they make me do trivia. Active questions, especially ones that begin with the phrase, did I do my best to, really encourage people to look in the mirror and say, did I do my best to set my own goals? Did I do my best to engage myself rather than waiting for the company to engage me? Just asking yourself active questions every day can make a huge positive difference. Well, 3 tips to really help people in a practical way are: number 1, learn about your own bad habits, to teach you not just what to do, what to stop. Number 2, ask for input, learn to listen to it, follow up, and measure your own improvement. And then number 3, the active questions. Get in the habit of testing yourself every day on doing what's most important in your life. By the way, everything I teach is very easy to understand. It's difficult to do. And it's not difficult to do because it's intellectually difficult. It takes a lot of courage to look in the mirror. It takes a lot of humility to admit you can improve, and it takes a lot of discipline to do the work required to get better.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith. I think good advice. Now we are moving on, and I would like to introduce to you the 6 trends shaping the future of leadership. To get it more practical, that's based on real leaders around the world, and I wish to introduce to you Jacob Morgan, who is a futurist, best-selling author, who interviewed more than 140 CEOs in person from different industries, countries around the world, and compounded their views and feedbacks into the 6 leadership trends you can see here on the screen. So we talk about artificial intelligence, the pace of change, purpose and meaning, new talent landscape, morality, ethics and transparency, and globalization. I think you heard those topics already, but the way he brings it to the table is a little bit different. And of course, there is no secret to it. You can Google this guy, you will find him on YouTube as well. We in PMCC use his videos for leadership education. And I think it's pretty important to understand what he's saying. Like about the first item or the first leadership trend is AI and technology. We all agree, technology is the one topic which over the last years made huge leaps, and the future leaders will need to embrace new technology and leverage on its ability. A simple example, the last 2 years during COVID, the tools for online collaboration, like Microsoft Teams, like Zoom, like other softwares, it became so much more better and profound. Like what you see here, we are using a platform which, yes, it has been existing, like Skype is there for donkey years already, but it improved so much. And of course, there are other softwares for project management or whatever professional trade you are in. So you need to adopt those technologies, otherwise you will be basically overtaken by technology, simple as that. And then the pace of change as well. No need to explain too much, you know already. It goes so fast that changes happen over the last few years. You know, in the last century, it took 10, 15, 20 years until a company became or got a turnover of 1 billion. Nowadays, the companies, the new kids on the block, the tech companies, they make it even in weeks until 1 billion. Yeah, maybe they will drop and plummet quickly as well, but the pace of change, what is possible today, the leverage on internet is crazy. So the new leaders, of course, they need to embrace that kind of change, how fast it happens, and we need to include that in our business, in our projects as well. Then purpose and meaning. The modern and future employees want more than just a paycheck. It's not a paycheck anymore. 100 years ago in the Ford factories, as a factory worker, paycheck was important. You did day in, day out the same thing. Today, people as digital nomads, I would call them, especially the youngsters, it's not just a paycheck anymore. It's actually how we deal with each other, how much we can help each other to grow, learn, and add meaning to life in general, and not just what we do in the office. So it's a complete different ball game in terms of leadership. The next 3 items is on the talent landscape. It's amazing, actually, people telling we have too many people on this world. On the other hand, we cannot find the good people for getting the job done. Or even in my current project I'm working in, we have not enough laborers to get the job done. Unbelievable. So in order to get specific jobs done in future, even today, it's not just the future only, we need really the right people to get the job done in terms of the talents, the right mindsets, and the leaders have to find those people. And if we can't find it, we have to build them, isn't it? It is an inside-out job to build them from within. Then morality, ethics, and transparency is a huge deal. So transparency is happening over the whole world. It opens up, isn't it? Things are not hidden anymore, because social media immediately, within seconds, it goes around the world. And things go viral. We can't hide anymore. So it's a big deal, actually, for the whole world. And we as leaders need to include that. It is, it's not only that we need to do what is right, being ethical, but also follow the own subjective beliefs, the moral compass, to do the tough and the right decisions. So it's a critical part, which also in schools, typically it's not taught. So, and of course, the last part is the globalization. No need to tell, it happens because of the internet, because of the companies going global. Like we are here in Malaysia, we cannot just sit in Malaysia and sit here and hope it will become, it's all good. We need to go out and see the world. How do we actually can grow as a company, but as well as a person, as an individual? I believe in the near future, we become global citizens. That's where we are going. Now, I would like to introduce to you the key drivers of project success. And this slide here, I don't want to go into the detailed item 1 to 10. I suggest to you, and you will get the resources as well later, the links. Based on the PMI, the Project Management Institute, they have conducted a research and published it over the last few days. Actually, it's a brand new cooked report here, the Pulse of Profession 2023. And the research revealed here are the key drivers of project success and the underlying power skills required in the future. So actually the key, the essence of this research is they found out basically the latest research is telling these are the key drivers of project success. And now the difference in this report is what they did first time, actually, they did the linking of what are the power skills required in order to fulfill these key drivers for project success better. And what they found out in companies using these power skills or developing these power skills in the talents, in their people, they have actually more success and better project outcomes. So what I want to introduce to you are these 4 power skills, which is communication. That's obvious. Project management is always all about communication. That's the first and foremost skill. But it's not only for project management. It's actually for leadership the same thing. Communication is key. Then problem solving. That's an obvious topic as well, because we have so many problems on this world and need to be solved somehow. But there are particular trainings available as well from PMI, which Actually, there is one good one. I did that last year. The Wicked problem solver. It's a micro credential which you can do, and it's fantastic what you learn how to do business models or whiteboard exercises, how to understand the problems and solve it. And then the collaborative leadership. I believe that's critical. Whereby in the Agile courses from PMI, they say it's not the collaborative, it's actually the word is gone. I just mentioned it before. Obviously, I'm getting older as well. Never mind. But you understand in which direction it goes, isn't it? And then the strategic thinking. Strategic thinking as well is highly critical in order to strategize the business, but as well doing the projects right. So now, having understood these trends in leadership, which also Marshall Goldsmith said, it's not what we have done in the past, it's all wrong, but we need to reshape it to do it right for the future, because we have been going through demographic shifts, isn't it? So now what do these trends impact your organization, your project, and your team, and of course yourself? So maybe what you can do now, leave some messages in the chat box. If I can see them. Where is my chat box? Chat. Yeah, there is nothing yet. So please use the chat box and basically plug in your comments. Then during the Q&A session at the very end of this whole presentation, we will go through your comments, and it will be interesting to see what do you think, what it does for you and your organization. Now, the next part, I need to get rid of the chat box. Sorry. Oh, no, good. So, still, it's all fantastic talking about the leadership part and the artificial intelligence and automation, and everybody is thinking like, oh, automation and all these robots or artificial intelligence will take over my job. I don't think so, because here it is also a fact that big data, artificial intelligence, and all the metaverse we are talking about, and you know, whatever grabs the headlines currently in the social media, in the news, it's still zooming towards new ways of working and living. Yes, I would say so. That's why the change will happen. And it comes to real world projects. What I'm doing, for instance, building railways, or in the past, building power plants. These kind of infrastructure projects, I can't see it happens that yet immediately that robots will take over the job. It still takes people to build those projects, to get the job done. Even the software coding for a website, for an app, it is still people doing the job. You will see later why I'm coming from that angle on why it happens. So, yeah. Then the demographic shifts I mentioned already, what happened from those days, the factory workers, to the industrial revolution, to computer and digital age, into social revolution, which is happening now, that job loyalty is gone, isn't it? People don't need to stick to the job anymore to feed families, because job opportunities are many out there. Or nowadays, the trend is that, oh, grab your laptop or grab your iPad, whatever, and go online, do a job. And basically the digital nomads, it's true. There are countries, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, they issue work visas for digital nomads where you can stay half a year on that visa and basically have your laptop there, and that's it. So you are a modern tourist, and that's what it is. So still the question is, how good are the teams working together with these different cultures and languages coming together in an online situation like what we have? So to me, that's my personal view, the common determinator is attitude. It all comes together that people's attitude is the biggest deal to work together. And if we have projects, it doesn't matter actually how big or how small the project is. Every project starts potentially with a new team and the team of individuals. And now they are maybe from the same office, but I believe that's what is changing, because in the future, these people maybe sit in America, sit in Europe or here and anywhere else in this world. And we need to bring this together as like a sailing crew with a winning culture, and understand the agile environment and take the necessary actions. There is one point though, the old saying from Peter Drucker. What Peter Drucker said is, culture beats strategy before breakfast. Now we can ask, oh, what is about lunch and dinner? Yeah, true. But the meaning here is having a good team culture, which is built on values and a trusting team, that beats a strategy. And I believe, proven as well with PMCC, what we do, we got these values. We have a great team culture and we trust each other what we do on a daily basis. And that's actually the winning factor. Why do we get chosen by our clients? Why should they take PMCC instead of somebody else? And culture is the key differentiator here. However, and now that's the top coming together, a fast forward, open for change and learning team with great collaboration is the future for successful project delivery. So it's not just the culture and handshake here, handshake there, some good values. It's actually much more due to the fast pace of change. How do we get there? Typically, we start in a project with gathering of people, as I mentioned before, maybe in the same office. However, that's what changed in the future. We have a lot of online people and working from anywhere in this world together. And it is our job as project managers to gather them together as a group. So that means we build a group of people working in a project. And typically the way we do it is team building. Now, what is team building? It is actually a process of become self-aware. Okay, I need to do something to team up and open up myself. I maybe share what is my favorite food, my favorite color, my favorite this, my favorite that, in order to get to know people. That improves performance. Simple as that. That's why we do team building. And then eventually we become a team, which means we are glued together as a team and get closer, and we call it synergy. That means when we trust each other, when we are close to each other, that's the synergy we can gain out of a team. And again, it improves automatically performance. So typically as a team gathering, not knowing each other, not trusting each other, I have no clue what Mr. A, Mrs. X is doing. That's usually when performance is low. In order to improve the performance, it is pretty simple. That process has to happen. Now, there is Mr. 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗁. You see the small print on top of the slide. It's from the 60s, guys. It's an old principle, but still valid. The forming, storming, norming principle, and then performing to build that stage, getting the change of a group of people into a team together. Now, as you can see, my team in blue, small bubbles, now it becomes red, big bubbles. What is all about? So, and I believe that's what we do very well in PMCC. And I believe that's what has to happen over the whole world. And actually PMI says the same with the special skills for project management, growing talents into performing individuals and teams. So that means we need to take the individual in the team and grow them not just the size from a body point of view, of course. I mean, growing them in terms of knowledge, experience, but it's also, that's what I meant before, not just technical knowledge. Actually, it is much more. We need to teach them how to communicate properly, even spiritual matters, because the world is transforming in a crazy way, and more people have brain issues in terms of either burnout or stress, psychosomatic issues, which is all triggered by the work life when we put stress on people. And that's where I believe a huge holistic view has to come into the corporate world to really grow talents in a holistic way, and not just technical knowledge. And this is the graphic on the very right side as well, which is based on the 値𝗍𝗲𝗶𝗿 robotic curve. From those days, the factory worker in the Ford factory, most of them basically are replaced by robots nowadays. And, you know, the routine works will be replaced as well. You have apps already where you basically can give routine works and automation in your software environment, or you can do, you don't need to sign papers anymore. You can set up a process in your system, get it to your computer in an email, approve automatically, it will return. So the process automation is happening already. What do we need in the future are skilled workers. And the big deal actually is the creative works, which AI can't take over, except like what you see here with the camera. Of course, when we go for arts in that sense, we have computer animation and all that stuff. However, when it comes to the creativity, how we work together as people, the writing and you know, the inspiration, that's not in AI yet. And I don't see that coming so quickly. That's a human thing, isn't it? Or the values and the culture. So that's where I believe is the huge performance of the future, and the understanding of learning fast as a team and how do we work together. And not just sitting in the office. You will see it's coming. It's coming. So, agility versus agile and hybrid, respectively, sorry, the conventional versus agile and hybrid. So I believe, guys, we all are used to the waterfall principle of doing projects. We know that there must be a design, a planning, then we procure, we construct something, and then there is the testing, commissioning, handover for operations. That's the typical or the standard waterfall principle, which actually there is nothing wrong. It's just an understanding that we need to have. It's in sequence, and in mega projects like in mine, doing a railway, 𝗔𝗍𝗁𝗶𝗿, the TNC is 4-5 years later from when they started the design. So basically what the point is, I can only find out after 4 to 5 years, is the design working or not? Do I have design flaws or not? And those who designed that project running away already, they are somewhere in this world doing different projects. So whoever is there for this last sequence in the project, the last phase to hand over, make sure everything is working, everything is safe and accepted from a contractual point of view as well. Actually, that's sometimes these people are really doomed, because yeah, if the design has an issue, you also know changing that time will cost a bomb. It most likely takes time. Time is overshooting. So I'm not saying it's completely wrong. There are sometimes projects we have not much of a chance than follow that principle. But we need to add agility to these kind of monster elephants to really make them jump in a way that we say, okay, let's find ways to actually design, procure, construct TNC in smaller chunks. Now, this has been done. There is nothing new, guys. Since the 80s with extreme programming, that's where actually it started, respectively in the 70s. In the 80s, it became more popular. All these software platforms, Facebook, Google, everything, they run on that principle. So typically Scrum principles are that you have 28 days, in other words, 4 weeks for one sprint. And in that period, you deliver an increment already. Or what you see later, when I launched a website, that's as well the same thing. I can run a website. I can develop a website within 1 week. There is one page and it works already. It's representable and we can launch it. And then week by week, we can actually add more pages. We can grow that whole thing. So from a software point of view, there is nothing new about Agile. Now, the big trick is bringing that into the traditional projects. So there are ways, I think I have an example here, like in the construction business, we started with BIM, the building integrated modeling. I would say that's a good start. However, we are not at the end yet. A lot of projects, they use BIM already and it works. However, what I can see, we have good people doing the models, but by far not enough good people doing the BIM management and the BIM integration in terms of clash management, the final design, and all the big problems in that BIM starts that it is not detailed enough in order to execute the construction properly. So I would say that's actually one way to bring the end result and visualize it for the end user at the very early stage during the design, and more or less build an integrated BIM model. And then let's say 3D is the model, 4D would be the timeline to it, that we can actually simulate over the timeline the build up in each areas, and we can see, is there any clash? What is the best sequence of work? That we don't step on each other's toes when we construct the whole thing. And of course, then the 5D, when the commercial part is coming in, when do we need the right financing, that we actually can do down payments and all that stuff, that we have positive cash flow. That's what we want in projects, isn't it? All that integrated. I have not seen, not in Malaysia especially, perfectly done BIM projects from the very beginning. Now, that's one way to see, actually, to bring the end product to a very early stage. We cannot, in my job, like building railways, we have 11 stations. We can actually build station by station. And why do we wait until everything is designed and then we start construction everywhere? And after 4 years, we have nothing finished, instead actually building it in smaller chunks. And let's say, okay, where do we have the most riderships? And hand over to the public, maybe after 2 years already, a feasible product which they can use. Public is happy, and we know the design works, and then we can actually build further in chunks and finalize the railway in smaller chunks and hand over in earlier stages. So there are ways. The building construction, they do this already, that they don't wait until the condominium is completely built or the business building is complete. Actually, the lowest floor, maybe where there is a shopping mall inside, they open already at an earlier stage. So that's a part of Agile. These kind of thinking we need to include, and these are the principles we need to look into for the future, because nobody has the money anymore for mega projects and waiting 10 years until we have a deliverable which works. And additional benefits, as I highlight here, we have lessons learned and continuous improvement. If we do smaller chunks, we can learn and improve for the next step. And of course, again, guys, if you have questions, plug it into the chat box, and then we will address it later. So Agile hybrid principles, I don't want to dwell too much. And as well, there is a lot of text, guys. The good news is we open a YouTube channel, and in January it's live already, but then this video will go there, so you can actually download that video and watch it again and read in details if you wish. So the thing is, the highest priority to satisfy customers is early and continuous delivery of valuable outcomes. And again, for software, that's not an issue. That's actually where everything is born. It is our job to find ways, how do we do it in the future for our projects. And welcoming change. In our construction jobs, usually we fix the contract, and anything else, a big change like, oh no, I don't want, or we get big VOs. And actually, in the past, it happens that contractors, they went in very, very cheap just to get the job, and then they make the big money by VO saying, oh, that's not included, that's not included. So actually, it doesn't help for the benefit of the project, of the outcome, what the public deserves for this kind of infrastructure projects. So, and deliver workable projects or services frequently. So at an early stage, someone has a benefit already and don't need to wait 4 years, 5 years, 10 years for an outcome. There are benefits like accelerated time to market, early and continuous customer validation. That's an important one here, because Agile also fostering the transparency in projects. So actually, we work very close with the end user to make sure they are involved. Like in our project, the end user is not even mentioned in the contract. So we have to guess what would they like to do. Or we have informal meetings in order to get reviews. The fun part is they are the only one with the license to operate the job. So that will be actually the tricky part during the T&C, the commissioning phase, to hand over to them. Now you operate something which you have not been participating from the beginning. That will be interesting. So the challenges, guys, you heard a lot of stuff now. What I can tell you, that change. Now, many of you maybe say like, oh, Agile in construction projects, Peter, you are crazy, it doesn't work. Yeah, cool, maybe I'm crazy. But keep in mind, the crazy people in 100 years, maybe they are in the books because they have been crazy and igniting the change. In other words, the Agile mindset is the biggest problem to overcome, to actually think out of the box and create that winning mindset of like a sailing crew to work in an Agile environment. And I wish to highlight here this graphic from 𝗪𝗲𝗿. A fixed mindset or a growth mindset. It's not that it's not digital, or you only have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. It's a mix, but predominantly we should actually aim for a growth mindset, that we also acknowledge intelligence can be learned. We embrace challenges and changes. We persist in the face of setbacks. Basically, we have an open mind, or stay optimistic, that we say, yes, I can do it. It's like learning to walk, isn't it? When you, as a small toddler, you fall down, you stand up, and you fall down, you stand up until you can walk. That's the same principle here. We don't just give up. We do what we need to do. And also learn from criticism. That means if people say, oh, that was not so good, we can do better. Yes. That's exactly the Agile principle. From each sprint, we learn and review what have we done and what can we do better. Actually, ISO 9000 says the same, continuous improvement. But our ISO 9000 reviews, they are every year only, and maybe it finds a way back to really improve something. In projects, we don't have that. Hence, the Agile mindset is very, very critical. And of course, it takes management support. If the working level is trying to be Agile, haha, I try to do jumping elephants, but the management says, wait, we don't do that. Basically, that when it holds, the whole thing stops. So the management, actually, the high level, or for a project manager, the project director, they need to pave that way for Agile and hybrid solutions. And as well, a project company, the company itself, the company culture has to embrace Agile principles. And, oh yeah, the word here, servant leadership, that's the word I was looking for. It's the baseline. When you go for the PMI courses on Agile, basically servant leadership is the baseline leadership for becoming Agile. Doesn't matter if in hybrid solutions or not, but that's the new leadership for the future, what they embrace. And then the government leadership. In Malaysia, of course, I can't say much about the government or politics, but the contracts, when we have infrastructure projects, and we get these contracts from the government, which have been copy-paste over the last 20 years. When I'm here since 20 years, and sometimes I see paragraphs in the contract, which we had 20 years ago, and still the same typo errors inside. It's actually amazing, isn't it? That's not Agile. That's basically, you know, not the best principle. So basically, we need to change the government leadership and as well the implement this Agile mindset to build the country in smaller chunks. Because if we make only big chunks, only huge companies with a lot of money and people can deliver these jobs. If we make smaller chunks on the country development and these contracts to be more agile, smaller companies have a chance to participate. And I believe we are not just depending on one big company, which may or is may not intelligent to deliver the best outcomes for the public. I would say we implement much more flexibility, but of course, the monitoring for the government need to become more agile, more flexible, and smarter as well. So I would say that's very important that we start at the top, isn't it? And start with the end in mind, you know, like the tender documents and contracts have to become agile friendly. If the contract doesn't allow it, there is no way forward. Basically, we have a problem. So I'm talking too much. I'm already, my goodness, you see how it goes. So these are the big challenges. Now, the mental turbo is a critical topic as well. It starts with the individual. I would just like to highlight something here, what is important for the future. Those days, that's how we started. Now, we have then a task list. That's what we developed. Those days we said, oh, you need to have a task list. Then Time System came with that book, which I must say it was fantastic. That's how I worked in the 90s, highly efficient. And even until today, it's practical, guys. Then what I got is in the early 2000, we got this pocket PC and everything became basically in the pocket. You know, you have your calendar, everything there. And that's how the world became crazy. That's the whole start. And now you see how fast things developed, isn't it? And guys, the big distraction is today, all these apps, all these inputs, reminders, and everything. That's the biggest issue, or that's today's world, how it works. Now, social media, the movie streaming, that is taking over. And it's not always for the best, because we have time to, tough time to focus on what we really need to do. So we came up with the mental turbo, which basically says you need to have your own knowledge management. It's a personal knowledge management where similar to the ISO 9000 system, that you create your own process on collecting the data, make sense out of it, create proper information you can use, reuse again, and create knowledge out of it that you can put it into action. And ultimately action leads to wisdom, because you've got the experience, isn't it? Been there, done that. That's the critical part, that we can transfer that knowledge. So how does it work? Pretty easy. So remove the distractions, guys. Yes, it's good to have reminders and all that stuff. However, you need time to be blocked. And that's critical for the future, because the distraction becomes much more and more. And build your own knowledge management map. This map is not just having a task list, actually. It's bringing all the knowledge together into one place. So like what we do, what I do for our company or in our project, we started collecting everything in OneNote, and we describe the processes there for the project even, because when I have it there, I can duplicate, like drafting letters, I can duplicate most of these letters, the content, the paragraphs, it's the same. I just copy paste. I become very and incredibly fast, guys. It's the matter of how do we take all this information and make it available that we actually can reuse it. So the whole process is pretty simple. We need to have the capture system, organize it properly, and then find the essence, what is really, really important, and express either by copy paste, share it to people, train people, coach people, to make sure that information is useful. And basically own your calendar. This is just of the mental 𝗪𝗲𝗏𝗏, which is a whole concept. It's just one part only to show, which I believe is the most important part. When you have a calendar, even in today's world, guys, people don't use the calendar. There are meetings inside, but usually they don't click, yes, I attend, or maybe, or I can't attend. So if this information is not there, it's very difficult sometimes to plan meetings. We need to start owning the calendar with our priorities. Life is nothing else than setting the priorities, obviously, on what is important, isn't it? But if we don't have a plan in our calendar set out, like for today, people can walk in and just take my time, steal my time for stupid conversations. Sometimes it's even good conversation, but basically I'm like a ball jumping here and there and everywhere. But at the end in the evening, I need to question myself, what did I do today? Nothing. So the key part is really owning the calendar and plan your actions and have a plan in writing that I'm using. Me personally, I use this the Notion app there, which I must say, it's a fantastic app where I can collect all my knowledge from voicemails, pictures, websites I visit. I basically click and it's there. So that's how I collect all the knowledge and information, what is important for me. That's the priority for me. I plan it. I map out my calendar. That's what I do. And I plan a block of, let's say, 1 hour. The first thing in the morning, I plan for myself. That's my time. I read something, what I want. I learn something or whatever it is. It's my time. And with that, I can actually focus on what I want to do and deliver. And guys, that, what I'm just teaching you here, will be critical for the future because more and more distraction will happen. Now, what is virtual project management? I think I need to make it pretty quick because I'm running out of time, talking too much as usual. So what is virtual project management? Guys, you have done it. And actually, multinational companies, they are doing it for years already. It's nothing new. And over the last 2 years, we all have been sitting at home in front of a screen and doing work from home, except construction. We still have our people on site. The way we did it, we create the bubbles and make sure they don't mingle with others to basically contain the safety of these people not getting COVID or whatever, you know. So that means, again, virtual management is a supervision or leadership maintenance of a virtual team. So these are the definitions we have. And basically it consigns the virtual work means all the definitions we have, or it's a physical distance. That means we are not at the workplace, actual workplace in the office or site office or at meetings. So basically everything is dispersed. That's the big definition here. Now, what I want to introduce to you is the virtual distance, and for the future, that's pretty important to understand. There is a formula, which is the physical distance, operational distance, and affinity distance. Now, the physical distance, no need to explain. When I have a meeting with a guy back in Switzerland, in Zurich, that's a physical distance of 10,000 kilometers, correct? Now, that's That's not a discussion point. Physical distance is there. Now, when it comes to the tools here and the gaps we have, when I had a project in Sarawak, before they electrified 10 years ago, Sarawak jungle, they had no hand phone reception there. So that means when people went out there, they either knew the job or they didn't, but until the week later, they come back, they had no clue what's going on, was there a change, was there a problem or whatever. So having virtual meetings with someone who has no gadgets, no internet, obviously seems to be difficult, isn't it? Or when we talk on different platforms, nowadays we have standardized like Zoom platform. Everybody knows how to use Zoom, so no problem. Internet access became much easier as well. Elon Musk is building the Starlink program on giving internet to everybody anyway, so it's coming. But you understand the point that the communication distance can actually be as well different tools, or people don't know how to use it. So then that's a problem. The next is the emotional or the cultural difference. Now, let's assume you have somebody like your son or your kid is studying in Zurich again, back in Switzerland, but it is your son. And you communicate because you miss this person, and you communicate in the same way. You make a Zoom call or WhatsApp video call. Suddenly, the 10,000 kilometers, actually, it's not a big deal, isn't it? Because it is family you are talking to. Suddenly, the virtual distance just becomes boop, almost zero, because you know each other very well. In other words, if you work with someone in the office, maybe even for years, maybe even the same floor in the office, but you have never spoken to that person before, it happens. Actually, you have no clue who that person is, but it's in the person is the same company. The virtual distance is huge, isn't it? So that's the whole point. You can have maybe a couple of meters apart, but not knowing the person, the virtual distance is huge. So in other words, the virtual distance it's a big deal. How, from a personal point of view, how do we deal with people? Are we open? Can we talk? Do we ask questions? How are you today? How is your family? How are your kids? And so on and so forth. To actually get closer to each other. And suddenly, having meetings all over the globe doesn't make a difference anymore, except like one of my partners sitting in Canada, and that's one here as well, where we have a virtual distance in terms of the time gap of 12 hours time shift. When there is night, we have day here, and having meetings like that is very troublesome, isn't it? But we also can have agreements that one day we do like this, one day I stay up or early morning, so we can make our time available to have the smallest possible virtual distance. And that's what we do in PMCC, guys. We actually are highly trained in soft skills to exactly overcome the affinity distance. And if you feel home, 10,000 kilometers doesn't make anything. That's an example, how a real example, guys. I mapped out once a project about 10 years ago because, you know, the main con here did not want to talk even to the Malaysian team from the client side, but there was you can see there is a Swiss team. So me being the PMC, doesn't matter if there is 10,000 kilometers in between. I know the culture, I can talk their language. I'm very close with these guys because I worked with them before. So basically picking up a phone and just talk to them straight in my language, and I understand the culture. Even they sound rude to a Malaysian. To me, it's like normal, and boop, there you go. So for me, the virtual distance is very, very small, while for someone else, it can be very huge because they don't know each other, but even sitting beside each other. So keep that in mind. That's, I would say, a concept for the future, because everything becomes virtual. That's a big deal. So in other words, I would say technology even plays less and less a role because technology is available. I would say the biggest problem is people don't know how to use it, but that's another story. But the biggest deal is the people. So leading virtually requires understanding of people, culture, organization, and collaboration. And the beauty is most people speak English, so that's actually not a breaking issue anymore. So that's happening. Now the question is, and that's one for the chat box as well, how virtual are you? Are you already a global alliance where basically you have done this in the past and nothing new, except maybe just a concept of, oh, maybe I could actually get a bit closer with them from an emotional point to break down the virtual distance. That's it. But again, being virtual is not a new concept, guys. It happens for the big companies. Like when I was in Siemens, that was pretty standard already. There was nothing new. It's just a matter of knowing each other. And basically when PMCC is offering this on a global scale, what we do for project management, it's a matter of get to knowing each other at the very beginning, maybe have a face-to-face meeting, physical meeting, whatever is after. If you have done a handshake, you met, you get to know each other. Basically, globalization is already there. You can have virtual meetings with ease. Now, that's my conclusion. Building teams with the right attitude will automatically perform at a higher level. I think you understand that and agree with me. Having all individuals in that team setting up the right tools and they know how to use these tools. That's, of course, the baseline. And each person has knowledge and management map to all the information they receive in meetings, in discussions, coffee talk, whatever like this. How do you take note of this? Do you take record? Like what I do when I'm driving, listening to an audiobook, I basically press here my memo voice recorder on my watch. It will record. I have my stuff and I can review later and take action. So there are so many ways. And the video you will see here in a moment, I basically screen recorded because this guy, Simon Sinek, does not allow to download the video. So I had to do screen recording on my phone, which is available for everyone as well on your gadgets. Just know how to use your gadgets and you will be much more flexible for the future. So virtual is not just virtual based on the physical distance. I think I just explained that. And now,
ago, I stayed at the Four Seasons in Las Vegas. It is a wonderful hotel. And the reason it's a wonderful hotel is not because of the fancy beds. Any hotel can go and buy a fancy bed. The reason it's a wonderful hotel is because of the people who work there. If you walk past somebody at the Four Seasons and they say hello to you, you get the feeling that they actually wanted to say hello to you. It's not that somebody told them that you have to say hello to all the customers, say hello to all the guests, right? You actually feel that they care. Now, in their lobby, they have a coffee stand. And one afternoon, I went to buy a cup of coffee, and there was a barista by the name of Noah who was serving me. Noah was fantastic. He was friendly and fun. And he was engaging with me, and I had so much fun buying a cup of coffee, I actually think I gave 100% tip, right? He was wonderful. So as is my nature, I asked Noah, do you like your job? And without skipping a beat, Noah says, I love my job. And so I followed up. I said, what is it that the Four Seasons is doing that would make you say to me, I love my job? And without skipping a beat, Noah said, throughout the day, managers will walk past me and ask me how I'm doing, if there's anything that I need to do my job better. He said, not just my manager, any manager. And then he said something magical. He says, I also work at Caesar's Palace. And at Caesar's Palace, the managers are trying to make sure we're doing everything right. They catch us when we do things wrong. He says, when I go to work there, I like to keep my head under the radar and just get through the day so I can get my paycheck. He says, here at the Four Seasons, I feel I can be myself. Same person, entirely a different experience from the customer who will engage with Noah. So we in leadership are always criticizing the people. We're always saying, we've got to get the right people on the bus. I've got to fill my team. I've got to get the right people. But the reality is it's not the people, it's the leadership. If we create the right environment, we will get people like Noah at the Four Seasons. If we create the wrong environment, we will get people like Noah at Caesar's palace. I'll tell you a true story. A few months ago,
yeah, so I think quite a cool conclusion that actually leadership is the predominant part to get the things right, isn't it? And I would say, yes, leadership is really critical for the future in terms of the complexity which we face in future, but as well the dealing with people and this change in the demographics we had over the last few years, which is crazy. So still, I believe the attitude in every individual plays a key role. However, we as leaders, we need to set up the stage for the team to strive and build a team, as I have shown you before. So now what can you do for 2023 is basically quite simple. Sorry for my time overshoot here. I'm a bit enthusiastic, of course, talking all these things, but yeah, that's me. Build your own knowledge management that you can actually benefit from all the knowledge there is in this world. And once you have it for you, you can actually translate that kind of principle and understanding and framework you build for your own company and project. And suddenly you are not searching anymore for information day in, day out, because you have it at your fingertips and you know where to get it. Strategize your organization and your project management office policies to be more agile or hybrid in order to enable projects and people to work in a more flexible way for the future. And of course, review your organizational leadership and your own leadership style. How can you change and improve towards more collaboration and this supportive leadership principle in order to grow towards excellence with your team? Now, I also give you the resources here. We can share the links. Please, my team, take it, and then you get the pools of profession from PMI and Second Brain. What I'm telling you here, the way this 𝗪𝗲𝗶𝗿𝗿 is doing it, he's pushing it to the limits, which is a great learning, of course. And then the next part is what we do from PMCC. We develop this project mentors website, where basically after all the experience we have now, we go out and we help for the future to mentor your team or individuals who want to grow for the next level. And this website is now launched, I believe, and we are going there. Go out to the teams, respectively go out to the world and share our knowledge, and hopefully we can help more people and individuals on a global scale. So if you enroll now, you will get a insight on how to build your growth mindset, and have access to the premium content already. And of course, we will keep you posted in future what's happening on this website. The next part is, if you scan that code, QR code here, you will get the link to our YouTube channel, which currently there is no video inside, but over the last few years, we have done so many brain huddles. What we do, we will plug in all those videos we have recorded into this platform here and offer you this knowledge for free, that you can actually revisit these brain huddles and take the best nuggets for you and your development as well. So that's happening from our side. Now, I think it's time for finally the Q&A. I'm really sorry, overshooting with the time. And now, where is the comments? The floor is open, guys, for questions. If I see questions, there are questions. Dini, where do we start? Which is the best?
I think we start by order. So the first is a question from Carmen, our very own Carmen. So the question is, aside from these technology advancements,
Yeah.
How do you see AI disrupting project management and changing the role of project managers?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, AI has huge capabilities. AI is in almost any software included already, like in your daily cameras, because blurring the background or whatever, it's all about AI already. If you go for automated text, for instance, you can actually use that for creating much better reports in English, which you have never written before. So actually, AI has benefits for the project manager. Again, I would say AI will not take over the creativity part or the strategic part. How do we want to get the job done? AI is still based on algorithms, which is written by people, software gurus, and follows a specific path. But however, more data is available on a daily basis where AI will become better. So still, it requires project managers to make ethical decisions and proper decisions for people, and don't let AI make those decisions, because potentially you will be put in a scheme which is maybe not always fair or proper. And I think we should not lose the human touch on that. So AI will automate the job of a project manager tremendously, maybe creating automated reporting. Yet the interpretation of it, still, it requires a PM, how to take action, appropriate actions, add more people, for instance, and all these things, which maybe is proposed by AI. Still, the decision should be with the human being. Yeah, next one.
All right. So the
I
next
hope I
one
answered the
is,
question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one is, I'm not sure whether it's a question or a statement, but I try to change it into a question. So it's from 𝗪𝗲𝗯𝗶𝗿. Some leaders still see that their past achievements 20 to 30 years ago are the best examples of their works. So what is your take on this, and how do they transition from this closed mindset that their past achievements are the greatest one to creating even greater achievements?
Okay, I just take my example. I'm working since more than 30 years already, and mainly in projects. And I would say experience is fantastic and is great. And I learned a lot through experience, and I'm happy and glad I did some big and bold steps, like opening my own company. When I went out from Siemens as a corporate 15 years ago, I opened my own company in a foreign country on my own, and basically people told me you are kamikaze. But guys, the learning was the best. If I wouldn't do that, I would not learn so much what I did already. Now, that learning from 20 years ago, or even during my university as an engineer, physics did not change so much. That's true. But the technology changed tremendously. You know, I learned still the old principle from communication, that the old telephones and all this. If you look at communication now with the handphones, and we are going to 5G. I never learned 5G back in my university time. You know, we had basically the old analog communication tools. I had a huge suitcase for a phone that time, and crazy. Nowadays we have a smartphone which is smarter than the rocket which went to the moon back in the 60s. So I think we need to have an open mindset, as Carol Dweck says, for new learning. And sometimes what we learned in the past, when I went to the Swiss Army in my 20s, the way we learned leadership, you know, it was like commanding and then controlling, and if they didn't, basically the punishment was there, isn't it? So I believe that time is over. So I cannot apply what I learned 30 years ago in my today's leadership, otherwise my team, Denny, you would run away, isn't it? So I would say that the changes we need to apply to our experience and learn new stuff and fine-tune our skills for the future.
I would like to add another question on top of your recent statement. So you say that's something you learned in the past could maybe would not be relevant in the future. So
Yeah.
what is that something that would keep you relevant in the project management industry, other than those 4 power skills you mentioned?
Okay, yeah. I was just wanted to go there. Actually, the 4 power skills, this is more soft skills, isn't it? What we have there. Still, the technical skills, I would say, are hugely important as well. That's why what I just did recently, as a good example, again, it's me, isn't it? I learned the Agile Hybrid Pro micro-credential. I had to study and get an exam with PMI in order to earn that micro-credential and add the Agile part. Despite 10 years ago, I made my Scrum Master already. So it's like adding new knowledge, because the world is changing, isn't it? So add new knowledge, add new certifications, and don't just sit back because 30 years of experience maybe makes you a hero, which is not true. There is, Dini, like you are almost 30 years younger than me, isn't it? You are a genius on your own. So I also learn from you how you approach things, isn't it? You are very open-minded and you do things in a complete different way. And I believe if we go hand in hand as a team, we are crazily powerful, because I learn from you, you take from my experience, and together we are a very powerful mix. That's my personal opinion. So it's basically learn until you die.
All right. So next question.
Hmm.
Is project mentors meant only for managers?
No. It's project mentor. Project mentors, it's not just for project managers. I got some examples, even some testimonials from people who have not been in projects before. It's completely different. I just call it project mentors because that's where my core understanding, my core experience is. However, I believe in a holistic approach to coaching and mentoring. It's not just one particular skill and then you are the big man. It's actually looking from a holistic point and integrate entire life skills into your goals or what you want to achieve, because future will be more complex than just single items. So basically, mentoring can happen to anyone at any time, any age. I got my first mentoring when I was 18, not realizing that actually I was mentored, but that's when I learned the most. In your case, Dini, when we worked together, I gave you some hints, tips, and tricks. That was as well workplace mentoring. So has nothing to do with manager or not manager or whatever age, no limitations.
I see, more of a self-development and future-proofing platform. Okay, so last question from our very own Dr. Wahid. How to make our team more confident to come and tell us their mistakes and problems that are impacting project performance, and also ask for help. Basically breaking the barrier between subordinate and boss, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's as well the virtual distance issue that you see from, or there was one item which I didn't explain, the organizational issue that people believe, oh, there is a boss very, very high up, and then they don't talk to that boss because they say, oh, it's the boss. But in many ways, it depends also on the behavior from the boss himself or the project manager, the team leader. If people give you feedback, if people come to you with questions, but if like Marshall said before in the video, if you say, oh, good idea, but that from that person, basically the confidence level just drops already. It's like, oh shoot, what did I say? Better I don't go anymore. So it's actually the level of trust we have to each other, and as well my reaction to Wahid knows me very well, isn't it? I would never shout. Doesn't matter if there is an error or a problem or mistake happens every day, everywhere. So it's a matter on how we communicate. So I believe, that's my personal belief, this new leadership method and model, what I also explained here, it is very, very helpful exactly towards that question that people are open and communicate honestly on the problems, ideas, issues at hand, or even personal matters they would like to improve or change or highlight. So I think leadership plays a huge, huge role. So that the servant leadership has exactly these kind of ingredients.
All right. So I think this marks the end of our session. Thank you, Peter, for your very insightful session,
I
not only
overshoot
for
so
the
much.
future of project management, but also for self-development and improving your own productivity, knowledge. Okay, sorry for taking more of your time than we are supposed to. So thank you for joining our Brain Huddle today. You are more than welcome to join us in our future Brain Huddle sessions, which are held every month for your information. So we hope that we will be seeing you again in future sessions. So on behalf of PMCC, we would like to bid you farewell and have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. So